because she was still alive. She was breathing. Or so it seemed to me at first. Then, just as ratiocinative ability began to resurface through my initial shock, when I began to ask myself what sort of breathing might cause a woman's dress to rise and fall not just at the bosom but all the way from neckline to hem, her jaw began to move, as if she were struggling to talk. It was not words that emerged from her greatly enlarged mouth, however, but the rat which had been chewing on the delicacy of her tongue. Its tail appeared first. Then her lower jaw yawned wider as it backed out, the claws on its back feet digging into her chin for purchase. The rat plopped into her lap, and when it did, a great flood of its brothers and sisters poured out from under her dress. One had something white caught in its whiskers, a fragment of her slip, or perhaps her skimmies. I chucked the valise at them. I didn't think about it, my mind was roaring with revulsion and horror, but just did it. It landed on her legs. Most of the rodents, perhaps all, avoided it nimbly enough. Then they streamed into a round black hole at the mattress, which they must have pushed aside through sheer weight of numbers, had covered, and were gone in a trice. I knew well enough what that hole was, the mouth of the pipe that had supplied water to the troughs in the barn until the water level sank too low and rendered it useless. Her dress collapsed around her. The counterfeit breathing stopped. But she was staring at me, and what had seemed a clown's grin now looked like a gorgon's glare. I could see rat bites on her cheeks, and one of her earlobes was gone. "Dear God," I whispered. "Arlette, I'm so sorry." "Your apology is not accepted," her glare seemed to say. "And when they find me like this, with rat bites on my dead face and the underwear beneath my dress chewed away, you'll ride the lightning over in Lincoln for sure." "And mine will be the last face you see. You'll see me when the electricity fries your liver and sets fire to your heart, and I'll be grinning." I lowered the cap and staggered to the barn. There my legs betrayed me, and if I'd been in the sun, I surely would have passed out the way Henry had the night before. But I was in the shade, and after I sat for 5 minutes with my head lowered almost to my knees, I began to feel myself again. The rats had gotten to her, so what? Don't they get to all of us in the end? The rats and bugs? Sooner or later even the stoutest coffin must collapse and let in life to feed on death. It's the way of the world, and what did it matter? When the heart stops and the brain asphyxiates, our spirits either go somewhere else, or simply wink out. Either way, we aren't there to feel the gnawing as our flesh is eaten from our bones. I started for the house and had reached the porch steps before a thought stopped me. What about the twitch? What if she had been alive when I threw her into the well? What if she had still been alive, paralyzed, unable to move so much as one of her slashed fingers, when the rats came out of the pipe and began their depredations? What if she had felt the one that had squirmed into her conveniently enlarged mouth and began to? No, I whispered. She didn't feel it because she didn't twitch. Never did. She was dead when I threw her in. Papa? Henry called in a sleep-muzzy voice. Pop, is that you? Yes. Who are you talking to? No one. Myself. I went in. He was sitting at the kitchen table in his singlet and undershorts, looking dazed and unhappy. His hair, standing up in cowlicks, reminded me of the tyke he had once been, laughing and chasing the chickens around the dooryard with his hound dog Boo, long dead by that summer, at his heels. I wish we hadn't done it, he said as I sat down opposite him. Done is done and can't be undone, I said. How many times have I told you that, boy? 'Bout 1,000,000. He lowered his head for a few moments, then looked up at me. His eyes were red-rimmed and bloodshot. Are we going to be caught? Are we going to jail? Or, no,